a constitutional monarchy.
That, by the way, for those that don't know, was bought with a lot of blood and a lot of heroics that was then the model for our system here in the United States.
Well, that's quite right. We fought to preserve a constitutional democratic monarchy in many, many wars, and of course, in the last century, alongside the United States as our great ally. And I'm a great believer in the transatlantic alliance between our two nations, because we think alike and we believe in the same things. But the problem with us is that we've discarded our Constitution, and I noticed almost on a yearly basis the same thing is happening to America. You've discarded your Constitution, and we regard, as certainly thinking people over here, regard the American Constitution as one of the greatest documents ever written.
It's amazing. They're getting rid of due process. Secret arrest is being implemented. Warrantless spying. All the same systems we see in Europe, England, are being implemented in the U.S. The bureaucracies even give the programs the same names. This is all being internationally organized, and 5 members of our Supreme Court have said in the last 2 years that they will follow UN courts above our courts when this is a despotism we have in Brussels, a despotism we have in Manhattan. Now Obama has signed an executive order saying Interpol has diplomatic immunity in the U.S. above even our own FBI. I want to talk about what it's like living under this tyranny with our guest and how we fight back against it. Godfrey Bloom is our guest. He's an economist, and he's on the extremely powerful committees in the European Union Parliament. Stay with us.
A revolution in smoking is underway. A revolution all smokers of traditional cigarettes should know about. Keep listening for a special offer from PowerVapor.com. Standard tobacco cigarettes contain over 4,000 harmful chemicals. Now it's time to release yourself from the grip of big tobacco and experience true smoking freedom. PowerVapor.com is an e-cigarette with the look, feel, and smoke of a real cigarette, but with no tar, no carbon monoxide, and no bad odors. Power Vapor's e-cigarettes deliver just the right amount of nicotine in a water vapor that looks and feels like real smoke. Yes, you choose from 4 levels of nicotine, and that puts you back in control. Plus, you'll enjoy 8 flavors and big savings over traditional cigarettes. Get the facts and see our demonstration video at PowerVapor.com. That's PowerVapor.com. Log on to PowerVapor.com right now for a special 10% discount and 30-day money-back guarantee. PowerVapor.com. The smoking gun heard round the world.
Have you heard that millionaire, entrepreneur, businessman, your congressional candidate, and author Robert Beatles wrote a new book called Here's What You Do? You can buy it at here'swhatyoudo.net as an ebook for $6 or the book for $10. And we have an audio book on its way for you commuters as well. Here's What You Do tells you exactly what to do to survive and thrive in these harsh economic times. This book will work for anyone, rich, poor, middle class, it doesn't matter. This book truly has the information that can make you wealthy, and it will tell you how to protect your wealth as well. You know the government isn't looking out for you. You need to look out for yourself. The economy is bad, but it's probably going to get worse. You must prepare and make sure you are able to financially take care of yourself and your loved ones. Go to here'swhatyoudo.net and start today. Again, it is here'swhatyoudo.net. That's here'swhatyoudo.net. One last time, it's here'swhatyoudo.net.
Hello, Ted Anderson. Listeners of the network are familiar with the Federal Reserve note and understand the risks of deficit spending. Therefore, with catastrophic events, it comes as no surprise that some banks have currently placed limits on the amount of cash depositors can remove from their accounts. A fractional reserve system means only a small portion of your deposit is held in reserve for immediate withdrawal. Deficit spending will skyrocket through FDIC if the government is forced to insure deposits during a bank run followed by a depressed economy. A current effort is underway by the Fed along with other central banks to increase liquidity for depositors. However, an increase in money supply without equal expansion in productivity can cause inflation. In order to achieve strength and stability, I recommend a conservative portion of all investments to be calmly repositioned into gold and silver. While paper investments currently have been driven by debt, gold on its own has held value for over 6,000 years. For more information, call 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
AirandAqua.com is your one-stop shop for some of the most affordable air and water purification systems available on the market today. AirandAqua.com knows exactly what doesn't belong in our air and our water, and they know exactly how to help you rid your home or office of these harmful toxins. Did you know that your skin actually absorbs more chlorine while you shower than from the water you drink? AirandAqua.com can help you eliminate dangerous chlorine from your water. AirandAqua.com carries atmospheric water generators, glass water bottles, chlorine-reducing shower filters, air purifiers, water ionizers, filters that remove up to 95% of the fluoride in your water, whole house water purification systems, solar-powered lawn and garden products, water testing kits, and more. Visit AirandAqua.com. That's AirandAqua Aqua.com. Or call 1-866-380-2782. That's 1-866-380-2782. AirandAqua.com. Purify your life today.
Come, you masters of war, you that build the big guns, you that build the death planes.
Godfrey Bloom, member of the European Union Parliament, with us for the rest of the hour. Website's Godfrey Bloom, mep.co.uk. Sir, it does seem, though, that as the European Union, unelected, tries to take power, tries to abuse people, more and more countries are voting to not expand their power, though they just keep coming back with referendums till they do. It looks like Greece and other countries may go bankrupt under the EU. I mean, there's more and more talk of the EU falling apart. A, is that accurate? B, should we hope for that? I mean, how do we combat these people?
Well, we've got some of the problems we have is in the differences of law that we have in the United States and the United Kingdom. We have three main pillars of our legal system. That is the presumption of innocence, trial by jury, and the concept of habeas corpus, i.e. the state can't lock somebody up without giving them a proper trial and a judicial system. Now, we've taken over, or the European Union has taken over something called the Napoleonic Code, which doesn't embody any of these things. And our Supreme Court, which was in fact the House of Lords, that was our final court of appeal legally, has been taken over by the European Court of Justice, which outranks that now under a completely different system of law. They have a prescriptive system of law. And where these two things are extremely different, and this is something that your listeners need to understand because this is where it all begins, the system that we have in the United Kingdom, and largely the same in the United States of America, is that the legal system tells you that which you may not do. So there are a book of rules of things that you cannot do, which we would all accept is fundamentally fair. Now, the system of government that's come into Europe, and I think is coming into the United States, is a system which tells you that which you can do, a prescriptive legal system, which is extremely dangerous and extremely sinister. We do not want the government of the day to tell us what we can do. We just want a small book of rules. And if I may just use a little analogy, which I often use here, which will help your listeners understand the point that I'm making, is that those of your listeners with children, teenage children, probably say, as we do in England, look, there are half a dozen things you can't do in your room. You know, you can't smoke, you can't play loud music, no members of opposite sex late at night, whatever. Probably half a dozen fairly sensible rules. But apart from that, the room belongs to, the teenager, and it's their space. And I think that's the way we've always wanted to work in our two countries. If you start telling them kids what they can do, you have a completely legalistic and prescriptive system which nobody wants. And, of course, that means you actually lose that concept of freedom under the law, which we all value so highly. And you rightly said earlier, Alex, so many young men have died for over the last 100 years.
It's amazing. But expanding on this, was it not a grievous blow? Was it a mortal blow to have their Copenhagen Treaty blow up in their face, or as Gordon Brown's saying, hey, we've always been an unelected bureaucracy. We'll just go ahead and write up the agreement, and we'll start monitoring countries, whether